Hey guys, how we doing today? This is Wally with Boca Chica Travel.com, and as you can see right now, I'm on our website. And today, basically, what I wanted to do is to give you some travel tips that'll help you out on your next trip to Boca Chica. If you're excited about your trip, you should be. I mean, Boca Chica is a very beautiful place, really nice beaches. The food is amazing. We really enjoyed ourselves in Boca Chica, and we were able to go to different places, while we were there and touring. So the purpose of this video is just to give you some tips, some things to work with, to think about before you get to Boca Chica that I think will help your trip to go much smoother. As you can see right here, I have some points here, bullet points that I wanted to highlight to you. The very first one, as you can see, is we're talking about money. Obviously, in Dominican Republic, they use Dominican pesos, and you definitely want to have. I recommend bringing some pesos beforehand. Not too much. Obviously, you don't want to be, loaded with too much money going anywhere. But I do recommend that you do buy some pesos. Obviously, how much you buy will depend on how long you're there. You can probably buy as much as maybe a few hundred, maybe like $20 US, which would be like 1,000 pesos. You could bring that just to get you going on your trip. I recommend that because, once you get to the airport itself, there won't be anywhere that you can get them actually in exchange booths when you get to the airport, but it's more expensive to do so. The only place that you can really get them that it's not as expensive to do it is ATMs outside of the airport. So I definitely recommend to get some pesos ahead of time because if you don't do it, you'll be stuck with getting some at the airport, and it could be more expensive for doing that. Um, while you're at the airport itself, going through customs, Dominican Republic has a $10 tourist card that you must purchase to pass through customs. Now, to our surprise, we realized that, per the agent there, he said we had to buy it in U.S. currency. So it's $10 U.S. currency that this must be purchased, and you can't do it in pesos. So my next point is that it would be good if you brought with you just a little bit of U.S. currency, not too much. The good thing about Dominican Republic is that in a lot of tourist areas, including Boca Chica, some people do accept U.S. dollars. Of course, the preferred currency would be the Dominican pesos, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring a little bit of U.S. currency. I would say maybe $100 or less. Not too much. You don't want to be walking around with too much cash. But again, to just be able to cover that $10 tourist card, once you get, at the airport, you do need to have that to be able to pass through. So just going back to the very first point, obviously you do want to bring some Dominican pesos beforehand. You want to do that because it'll be cheaper for you to purchase them at home. If you have your bank, you can go into your local bank and just tell them you want to buy, some Dominican pesos. I recommend getting maybe $20, 20 $30, something like that, just to work with. And of course, that'll depend on how long you'll be, in the country. Only you can really determine that. But I do recommend you to get some to get going. And of course, bring in some U.S. cash, the $10 for that tourist card that must be paid in U.S. Currency. Why that's the case, I don't know. But they do not accept debit or credit cards in the airport to pay for that tourist card. For that reason, you need to bring $10 to cover that. The next point that you can see on my blog here is you don't want to drink the water. Per locals and others in our research online with different travel sites and our experience, the water itself has a high content of calcium and minerals in it. The ocean water is very salty. So you don't want to drink the water itself. If you do, you probably will get sick. What we do recommend you to do is go to the colmados. They have them on several different corners. In those, you can get, bottled water. The hotel that we stayed in Boca Chica, it was called Bate Hotel Boutique. It's right on Duarte Avenida. It's very easy to get to. It's one of the main streets in Boca Chica. That particular hotel did provide us free bottled water, 2 bottles a day, just the two of us. That's all we really needed. They were really big bottles, which was great. So if your hotel does not provide bottled water, then you definitely want to buy it. You do not want to drink the local water. You will get sick or have, problems. Boca Chica is a fairly safe place. It's really nice. It's a very highly policed area. But one of the things that you'll see is, there are vendors everywhere. People selling stuff. I mean, everything under the sun. What you want to do is you don't really want to give attention to that, because if you do, you probably might get taken advantage of. I just recommend that you keep going. Sometimes you may go to stores and stuff like that, and they may want to sell you things, and that's perfectly fine. But don't be rushed. Don't feel rushed to buy things. A lot of these places are tourist traps, and they'll oversell the same product that you can get, somewhere else. For example, we were wanting to get some coffee, some really good coffee from the Boca Chica area. And so one of the most popular brands there's a white bag of, coffee from Santo Domingo. It's really, really good coffee. But the difference, I went into one store and the guy wanted to charge us like the U.S. equivalent would have been like $6, but at a colmado right down the street, we got it for $3. So I mean, it was $3 more for the same coffee, the same size. Yet we just went to another place, and so that's one of the next point that I wanted to bring out to you guys. You not only want to learn how to negotiate, but don't be afraid to tell people that, hey, you'll go somewhere else and buy it, because they will lower the price because they don't want you to leave. They want you to buy it. And again, those prices are geared towards tourists because they know you're coming, and they'll raise the price and have you pay more for the same product. A good rule of thumb to get an idea of how much things really cost is, one of the locals told me to just divide everything by 50. So whatever, you're buying in pesos divided by 50, the average, currency exchange rate right now before my trip was about 49 pesos to the dollar. So just to keep it easy, you can just divvy it by 50, and that'll give you a ballpark range of what it costs in US. That's a quick tip. If you're in Boca Chica, traveling to Boca Chica, and you want to know about the exchange rate, what something actually costs, just divvy it by 50. It's just an easy way to go about doing it. Again, that'll help you, leverage more with your negotiation when purchasing souvenirs, be it keychains, coffee, whatever it is you want to buy. Definitely use that rule, because it did help us to save a lot of money in our purchases. One of the things I want to not recommend, and that's renting a car. Dominican Republic is probably one of the craziest places to drive. I say that because that's the way it is. Locals say it, we say it, and that's really what you'll see when you get there. People drive on the road, locals there, and although you may have 2 lanes, people are driving overlapping lanes. People are just right on top of each other. It's very crazy, and if you don't know the system or understand the system of driving there, then likely you'll have an accident or 2 cause 1, because it's just that crazy. One of the things we do recommend, or that I recommend you to do, is just use a motoconcho. This is a picture I just got offline. Motoconchos are just guys and gals that drive these motorbikes. They're scooters. You see them everywhere. Everybody in their mind was driving a motoconcho, and you can really go from point A to B for really cheap. So it's a really good way to get around in Boca Chica or in Santo Domingo, wherever it is you want to go beyond Boca Chica. Motoconchos are a very inexpensive way to get around. Of course, Uber is available in Boca Chica. We did use that. Of course, if you have your app and your location is on, then you can very well call an Uber. From Santo Domingo to Boca Chica, it's about $5-6, give or take. Depending on where you're going, it could be a little bit more, but more or less, it runs at right about $5 US. From there. Talking about driving, La Guagua, the bus, it's a little bit different. If you don't want to do an Uber, you don't want to do the motoconcho, you want to try out a bus. La Guagua is what they call it, and it's very cheap as well, going from point A to B. But one of the things I want to highlight, at least one of the things that we notice, is that the system for paying your fares is different. I say different, and because in the U.S., you pay your fare first. Be it $1.50, $2, or whatever it is in your state where you're from, your city where you live. You usually pay it first when you get on the bus, right? Well, in Dominican Republic, it's a little bit different. You sit down, all the passengers get on the bus, you sit down, and some minutes after you're on the bus, a gentleman that's on the bus, he doesn't really have on a special uniform to really identify him with the bus, but he gets up and he goes around and he's collecting the pesos, for the fare. So when you see that, you don't want to be alarmed by that. Again, that's a Dominican system. Why it's that way, I don't know. I can't explain that in this video. Probably have to research that and put up another video on that. But it's a very interesting system that Dominicans use to collect a fare. Again, it's very inexpensive to do it. We took it from like Boca Chica all the way to Santo Domingo, the capital, to do some touring there, and it was very inexpensive, like less than $5 to really tour around the capital. So it's a great way to get around if you want to go that route. Another tip that I wanted to mention is going to be my very last one. It's a very important one. It has to do with tipping. Obviously, the difference, if you're in the States or traveling from the States going to Santo Domingo, you tip maybe, 20%, 25%, depending on your state, whatever it is, on top of whatever the bill, comes out. The difference with Dominican Republic is that the government mandates a 10% charge to be added automatically to the bill. So that's something you can't really avoid. So whatever your bill is, you'll see a 10% charge that's usually right below it on the tab itself. Now, per one of the locals, one of the waitresses that we had at our hotel, she explained, because we didn't know exactly what that was, and she explained what it was, and that she mentioned that 10% charge is a tip that doesn't go directly to the server or the waitress or waiter that's serving you. It's actually a little bit different. What they do is they divvy that 10% amongst all of the workers there, all of the waitresses and waiters that work at that restaurant. So with that in mind, if you want to tip your waiter or your waitress individually, you can do that. In fact, that's what we did, because we were so impressed, with the service that they were giving us. I mean, they wait on your hand and foot, and it's just amazing beyond, service that we received at our hotel. And so that's what I recommend, is that, again, that 10% doesn't go directly to that person that's serving you, rather it's divvied amongst, everybody that's working in the restaurant. And so that's done on a 2 weeks basis per what we were told. So me personally, I just prefer to, thank the person, tipping them individually. And I think that's a good thing to do as well. As I mentioned today in this video, I just wanted to give you guys some helpful Boca Chica travel tips. If you're going to Boca Chica and, you're planning your trip, do have some information on the flights tab here. Just find out some details about flights, some things to keep in mind, when going there. Of course, my trip was booked through Expedia. I love Expedia. I've used other travel agencies as well, but Expedia is who I dealt with this round. And so if you want information about Expedia, about Boca Chica, booking, hotels, whatever it is, tours, you can definitely just follow the link that's right here on our site at flights. Just click on that and you'll find out more details as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found that it was helpful. If you have any other thoughts or comments, feel free to just drop them down at the bottom in the comments area here, or if you're on YouTube and you're watching this video, go ahead and drop your comments, give it a like and a thumbs up. We'd love to hear your feedback as well. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy your upcoming trip to Boca Chica. Adios.